Hi everyone, it's February 7th, 2012, and I want to just do a little bit of a video here to explain a bit about how I prepare for the day of trading and how I struggle with the necessity of having both a buy idea and a sell idea. Not for the reason that I want to plan both trades or take both trades, but particularly because I want to make sure that I don't get caught thinking so strongly that the market could only go in one direction that I don't stop out of my losing position and close out a loser. The euro dollar today gives a great example. So what I want to do is take you through my analysis, or what I look at when I start up the charts first thing in the morning and plan for a trade idea, and then explain more about how I balance it with an idea in the opposite direction. When I opened up the euro dollar chart this morning, I had a trend line left over from yesterday. It's this blue trend line underneath the candles here. And the currency pair had just recently broke out from below that trend line. So I'll just move the trend line, so that's good. Here we go. So it had just broken out from below that trend line in this area right here. And the CCI set to 94 was coming down below overbought. And that's a nice combination for me. So I next will look back and say, well, is the trend down, or is the recent movement down? And the answer was yes. Actually, recently the movement was down on this currency pair. So that fulfilled just about every necessary condition that I would have for a trade. And at the time, I decided that I would prefer to see the euro rise a bit. I would actually prefer to sell it at 31.50, but I'd rather see it rise a bit and fall back down to our entry, just to extinguish any leftover ammunition that it has on the bullish side. This happens really often with trades that I plan. I want to plan a sell trade right here. I even want to take a sell trade right here. But there's this thing that holds me back from taking it immediately, and I desire greatly to have a better price. I want to see it rise before I take it. I want to see a complete extinguishment of whatever sentiment was in the opposite direction. So if there's any questions about what I mean by that, you can put a comment in the video post right here. But that was my first idea. I said, well, gosh, it's breaking below this trend line. It's falling below 100 on the CCI, so it's coming out of overbought. So I want to take this trade. And I thought about under what conditions I would take it, if it rises up a bit and falls back down. And so I worked through some of those feelings that I want to see it rise up one more time before I take this trade, and then I could write out the trade idea. Now this would go for a stock or any other financial instrument, just the same. Next on my list after that moment is to turn around and say, well, wait, could it only go up, or could it also go? Could it only go down, or could it also go up? And that led me to move to a different time frame chart, for example, and I drew a trend line across the tops of the candles. This red trend line here. And I said, well, gosh, if it breaks above that red trend line on the 5-minute chart, it will be coming out of oversold on the CCI on the 5-minute chart and rising upward. And the recent trend on the 5-minute chart was up. So I'd be continuing that recent trend on the 5-minute chart. And you could see how the 15-minute chart is an analysis unto itself, and the 5-minute chart is an analysis unto itself, and I could end up with two viewpoints that look very contradictory. But it balances me out. It forces me to realize that the market isn't necessarily going to only move in one direction. It forces all of us to realize that we need to be prepared for what could happen if we're wrong. Now, we could also decide that we want to only take one or the other, the buy or the sell, and one of them looks better. I think the balanced view and the intelligent way to trade is to say either of these scenarios could happen and I'd be willing to go in either direction, because we honestly, when we get to the core, we don't really know which way the market is going to head. As smart as we think we are, we don't really know that. So I drew a trend line on this 5-minute chart, which I'm showing you now, in red across the tops of these candles, and said that if it breaks above the tops of those candles and moves to the stop loss on the sell trade, if it had opened, that I would want to be long the euro instead of short the euro. Now, of course, we set ourselves up for a possibility that both of these trades could open and both of them could stop out, but you could take 2 trades that stop out any day. I mean, that's not a surprise, right? You wouldn't be the first person that ever happened to. And that's how I plan for a balanced approach. And on days when the market is really choppy, I could end up with trades that don't do well in either direction. Some days, like today, it rises up. And for those of you that never got the alert in time, you never took the sell trade. And so on some days, you're going to get a buy trade only because you missed the first one. And then on other days, it's going to open up the first of the two and be profitable. And then on other days, you're going to lose once on the first entry and you're going to win on the second. There's a whole lot of scenarios that we allow ourselves to accept when we take this balanced approach. It seems a lot cleaner or a lot smoother for us to simply say, oh, well, just sell it. It has to be a sell. That seems really sophisticated. And of course, the trade alert is the best that I have to give you, and it's the best idea I have. And my trade alert was a sell on the euro because I think the euro is set to go down. So I picked the best one, or the one that I feel the most strongly about. But then I balance it all out with a viewpoint that goes in the opposite direction, because I'm not so prideful that I can't see that I might have been wrong about that. And I want to make sure that we understand that there is this balanced approach to trading. So let's look at another currency pair, for example, right now. And it's the Aussie dollar on the 4-hour. I just want to give you a quick update about this pair because it did get up really close to the missed pivot that we've been talking about, this missed pivot from the 3rd of August 2011, and it didn't quite hit it. The high on the pair was 0.821, and that pivot is at 0.827, so even with the spread, it didn't hit that. And the question becomes, well, did we hit it, and can we start selling the Australian dollar? And the answer is, no, it really needs to be hit. I mean, a hit is a hit is a hit. It needs to be touched on this chart. And I want to let you know, I'm still waiting for this to be hit, and it may even go higher than this level at 0.827. It may even go higher than that. But at that point in time, I'm going to be very interested in a sell trade on the Australian dollar. And I would love to see the 5-minute chart, which we're looking at now, reach overbought on the CCI and have a trend line underneath the candles that we could draw. You can see here that when the Australian Reserve Bank announced its interest rate decision just a short while ago, we got a huge candle upward, and that really was the burst of activity that I thought was going to take us almost immediately to 0.827. It didn't do it. And so we're plugging along still, and we're looking for that, and I still am interested in selling this pair above that level, so stay tuned for more updates about that. Thanks for joining me on TFL 365.